everyone, it's Alice and I'm here today with another episode of Book Chat. Thank you so much for joining in on another episode this week. There's not really been all that much news. Most of it's been coming out of Camp FairyLoot, which has been quite exciting. So we'll run through the news very quickly and then I'll give you a bit of a reading update at the end as normal. Once again, please do let me know if there's anything you'd like me to cover on Book Chat that I'm not currently covering. So if there's any boxes that you guys are subscribed to that I don't mention as much as you want me to, or if there's any kind of smaller American boxes that you would like me to mention, I can do research into those as well. So just leave a comment down below if you've got anything that you would like me to add to this weekly feature. So to start off today, we will discuss the fact that FairyLoot did some very vague, blurred images of upcoming announcements this week. So in order, I believe it was Foxglove by Alyce Grace, the second part of the Vampire Academy set that they did, the Queen Bee book by Juno Dawson, which is like a prequel companion novel to Her Majesty's Royal Coven, and I also think the last one is going to be the next volume of Heartstopper by Alyce Oseman. They also put a little TikTok up that was another hinted announcement, which I believe was When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, because they'd put something like Fire and Ice, Shattered Brimstone, and that's what is on the UK proof. Well, that got proved correct because FairyLoot actually already announced that, and they also already announced their reprint of Foxglove by Alyce Grace, because there have been a lot of complaints about the fact that this sold out as quickly as it did. I'm assuming that they're announcing this now so that they can announce their edition of Wisteria by Alyce Grace quite soon, because that's the third book in the Belladonna series, and it's coming out, I want to say September, it might be earlier, but I can imagine they want to get this order done for the reprint so that they can then put all of the editions, like everybody who was ordered like the original edition and the pre-order of the reprint edition will all be eligible for the Wisteria sale. So definitely keep an eye out for them announcing that soon. The edition that they've announced of When the Moon Hatched is absolutely gorgeous. Basically every single comment on their Instagram was just gorgeous, stunning, beautiful, amazing. So I definitely think this one's going to sell out ridiculously quickly, especially because I believe it's hand-signed edition as well. It's going on sale on June the 7th, so they aren't giving people a lot of notice for this one, but I really don't think it's going to be a problem because I don't think it's going to get to general sale anyway. So once again, if you're a subscriber, you will get early access. Just make sure you look those details up. But if it does get to general sale, then that will be June 7th. The Foxglove reprint is going on sale on June the 19th, so there's a little bit longer to prepare for that one. But again, they are doing a lot of announcements with a very short turnaround time at the moment because they've also announced their editions of the Bellinger Sisters series by Tessa Bailey. This is It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line and Sinker. I couldn't remember the second book's title. And these are going on sale on June the 14th. So again, you've got a couple of weeks to prepare for that, but not very long at all. I'm hoping that they go back to announcing things a few months in advance because that's definitely my personal preference. And I feel like it's a lot easier to budget with things a lot further in advance. There's a couple of sales recently that I haven't gone for because of the fact that they've announced them so shortly. And it would just be nice to be able to make a decision based off of whether I want them or not, rather than like, do I have the money for this immediately? They've also done an update for their Demons and Deities YA box for June. Instead of having stenciled edges on all three sides, this will have a digitally stenciled edge on the front, like the long edge, and the other two edges will be just a solid block colour. I'm assuming that means that they got them into the warehouse and were doing the quality control checks and they realised that it wasn't to specification. But they've been a bit sneaky because they put on their story that they were changing the specification and then they edited the original announcement, but they didn't actually put in there like, this has been edited to say. So I've just found the original announcement from Autumn Book Reads when she did her guess and then contrasted it with the new announcement. So if you were wondering what that change was, that's there. I just wish companies didn't always put things in their Instagram stories so that you can't like track back on it, because it would just be nice to have some kind of like, yes, this was edited here to say this, just so that there's some accountability and so people can know whether they were made aware or not. But that's a conversation for another day. This week, Daphne Press released the cover for The Whispering Dark by Susan Dennard. This is the third and final book in the Luminaries trilogy, and this is going to be out on November the 19th. I'm assuming that there's going to be an Illumicrate special edition to match the first two. I'll give you details to that as and when they announce them. Moving on from book box news, Sulin Tan's next book was announced to be called Immortal and is out in January 2025. Waiting for the cover to be revealed on this one, but I will post that as soon as I've seen it. Tahira Mappy announced that there's going to be a deluxe collector's edition of Shatter Me released on November the 5th. You can pre-order that from today, but I think it's hitting stores on November the 5th. It's got like a exclusive end pages and like a stenciled sprayed edge, so it all looks very fancy. I personally prefer the UK collector's edition that was released last year, and they've just recently announced the second and third book are also coming out in the matching style, but I haven't read this book, so I'm holding off on any of the special editions of this one for now. I do like the fact that the cover doesn't have the title on it though, because one of the biggest bugbears for me is that the US edition and the UK edition are basically the same, but the UK font is just Yankee. I like the font on the US one, so the fact that the deluxe collector's edition has just gone with no title at all actually really pleases me. Hodder announced that they are republishing the Drowned Empire series by Frankie Diane Malice. This was originally self-published and will be reprinted and packaged up by Hodder later in the year. I don't know whether it's worth keeping an eye out for a special edition of this one, because it sounds like the kind of thing that might get a special edition, but I will be honest that I hadn't heard of it in its self-published format, so just keep an eye on that one. And Laura Thalassa also released Bespelled a little bit earlier this week. I'll just read out the statement that she made because they were being sent out early, so she decided to pull the ebook release date forward as well. So this is Laura Thalassa's statement that she made. Hey all, this is a strange post for me to write, but here we go. I woke up this morning to many, many lovely and very excited messages about physical copies of Bespelled being shipped out and delivered to readers or on the shelves at their local bookstores. As exciting as this is for me, it's also very unexpected and stressful. Bespelled isn't technically set to be released until May 28th, and this statement was made on Wednesday, which would have been the 15th of May. 2 whole weeks from today. I honestly don't know what happened, and I've been torn about how to handle this situation because while literally nothing thrills me more than you all reading my book and seeing your posts, I've also been planning for the last 6 months for all the formats of the book to release on the same day. I'm so sorry that's not the case. I would still prefer for all formats of the book to be available at roughly the same time, so after thinking about it and weighing my options, I've made the decision to release the ebook early as well. Amazon requires I wait 4 days from now before they'll release it, so as of now I've scheduled it to release on Friday, May 17th. So if you have had that ebook copy pre-ordered, it should already be downloaded because I'm now filming this on the 19th. It'll be released on the 20th. But if you haven't had it early for any reason, you might want to check up on that. The audiobook is still being recorded and it won't be ready for another 2 weeks. If you've pre-ordered a signed copy, it will also arrive around May 28th. Again, my sincerest apologies for this situation. Much love to you all and thank you so much for your support. I'll put a sappy release day message this Friday. I think that's really nice for her to do that because that is really going above and beyond. I think most authors would have just pretended it wasn't happening or just waited for the initial release date. So it's nice to see her being proactive about the situation. I could imagine it's got a lot of happy readers getting to read it early, but it's just a shame that she didn't get to celebrate the release day the way that she wanted to. But yeah, fair play to her for being proactive about it. That's actually all of the bookish news for you this week. There really wasn't much going on at all, which is surprising. But now we'll move on to what I've read this week and we will see what you think. Because I've actually managed to read quite a bit and I'm quite proud. I mean, I haven't finished anything, but I'm reading and it's nice. So first of all, let's talk about The Leftovers by Tom Perrotta because I started this last week, got through the first part. I've read part 2 this week and I've just started part 3. I'm not enjoying it as much as I was. And I can't really put my finger on why, but I think it's because there's a character called Nora Durst, and in the sudden departure, she loses her husband and her 2 children. And there's a good chunk of this book where this whole chapter here is just I mean, it's nearly 20 pages, and it's just Nora being sad about the fact that she doesn't have her husband and her children anymore. And I understand, and I do feel empathetic towards her. But we see Nora in one of Kevin's earlier chapters giving a speech about the loss of her husband and her children. So a lot of it is just kind of repeating it, but instead of Kevin hearing her speak about it, it's in her internal monologue. So it's almost like it's trying to hammer home how sad this is, and by trying to hammer it home, it makes it a lot less sad. And that 20 pages just really dragged for me. The rest of the part I flew through, and I thought once it moved on, there's a pastor, I think he is. I think he's a pastor, and he is salty, shall we say, about the fact that he didn't get taken during the sudden departure. He's like, well, I dedicated my whole life to God. I deserve to have been in front of the line. So in retaliation to not being taken, he has started looking up all of the people who left in the sudden departure, and he's writing like slanderous pamphlets about them, basically saying like, this person was embezzling funds, this person was like ripping their boss off, and he finds information on Nora's husband, and then because of the information that he reveals, there's a bit of a face-off between her and another character. That chapter I thought was written brilliantly. Like, Nora's trying to put it behind her, she's trying to move on, she's trying to pretend it doesn't faze her, and then all of a sudden she's like face to face with this other person, and she's like, right, actually, like, I know he's gone and I know it doesn't matter anymore, but I need these answers. And I thought that was very relatable. I thought a lot of us would feel the same way, because if you can't confront the person because they have literally disappeared, you would want to be able to find those answers anyway, even though it would kind of feel pointless. So that helped to kind of move the pace on a little bit more. I'm just going into part 3 now, and it's about the holidays, I'm assuming, because it's called Happy Holidays, I think. If I can find it. No, that's part 2. Oh wow, I'm a lot further through than I thought I was. I'm mostly reading it on my Kindle edition. Part 3, Happy Holidays. So I think it's Thanksgiving, so it'll be interesting to see if there's any kind of differences in the way that the holidays are celebrated following the sudden departure. And I'm hoping that it might look into that more, because it does feel like the rapture is the secondary thing here. It's very much in the background. Like, the beginning is like, oh god, the sudden departure has occurred, what are we going to do? But then it just feels like at this point everybody's just kind of getting on with their lives a bit. And I know that you would want to, but it makes it quite dry to read. So I'll give you an update next week and see how I'm feeling. Hopefully I'll be through part 3 and working on part 4, because I'm reading kind of 50 to 80 pages a week. But that it could go one of 2 ways from here. It could either get a lot better, or it could just lose me completely. So we'll wait and see. I've also started reading More Than a Best Friend by Emma R. Alban. This is the first book that I'm reading for my Taylor Swift reading challenge. So if you haven't seen that, I did announce last week that I am doing an Eras reading challenge, and I've found a load of books that are very tenuously linked to Taylor Swift lyrics or song titles or album titles, and I'm going to read them. So More Than a Best Friend in America is called Don't Want You Like a Best Friend, so it is a lyric from Dress. So I'm in my Reputation era, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm about 10% of the way through. It's a dual perspective between 2 characters called Beth and Gwen. Gwen is in her 4th season. It's a historical fiction. She's in her 4th season and she still hasn't found a husband, and she doesn't really care. She's happy living with her dad and having a good old time. And Beth is in her 1st season, and unfortunately her father has passed away, so she doesn't find a husband during this season. Her and her mother are going to be made homeless. So there's a bit of pressure on there. This is sapphic fiction, so I do know that Beth and Gwen are going to end up falling in love. I don't know when that's going to happen, because it's not really getting like any of that so far. But there was a really cute moment where Gwen had her arm around Beth's shoulders and she was like, oh, she fits really nicely against me. And I said to Sean, I was like, that is not something that you think about a platonic friend. That is a really, really cute little line that I think a lot of people wouldn't think much of, but I really liked that line. So I'm looking forward to seeing this move more towards the romantic sections, but also they're beginning to conspire together to get their parents together, Because they're like, oh, well, if, like, my mum and your dad get married and they've got loads of money, then we don't need to get married. So we'll be fine. We can just be, like, spinsters forever. Yay. And I thought that was, like, a really fun, like, it seems like they're going to be scheming and that's what's going to make the romance happen. So definitely enjoying this one so far. It's a bit unusual because it's written in third person, present tense. So it is a bit jarring sometimes when it's like, Gwen says this, Beth says that. But it feels like it would... I think I'd be reading it faster if it was in the past tense, but we're just going to power through. It's a writing style that I'm not used to, but I am enjoying it so far. So I'll give you an update on that one next week as well. We finally passed the 450 page mark in House of Flame and Shadow, and again, I can't say much about it because it is the third book in a series, and I don't want to give spoilers because you will all murder me if I give spoilers. So I'll just say I'm still really enjoying it. It got to a little bit of a slow section again, but it was enjoyably slow, so I still just kind of progressed through it. Now there's some shit going down again and we're in a new place, so it's nice to be exploring more of the world, especially like parts of the world that we've seen mentioned quite a lot in the previous books. But again, it's very long. We're only just over halfway through and we're 450 pages in. Like, the whole of The Leftovers is 352 pages, and I've still got that again plus more before I finish House of Flame and Shadow, so it's going to take me a while. We're going to 2 concerts and a festival next week, so we'll be reading on a journey to Bristol, we'll be reading on a journey to Newport, so there is a chance that we might get like a big chunk done in the car there, because we're seeing Aaron West in the Roaring Twenties and Fiona for a Friend as like warm-up shows before Slam Dunk, but then Slam Dunk will happen and I'm going to be knocked out for a few days, so I don't know how it's going to go, but reading will occur. And I should hopefully still be able to film book chat for you next Sunday because we're going to Slam Dunk on the Saturday. Again, it'll depend on how zoned out I am. Because even today I can feel that I'm not at the top of my game because I'm just knackered from work. It's been a very, very busy week. So we will be here with book chat next week. I don't know what kind of state I'm going to be in, but I also don't know if I'm just going to talk about Slam Dunk the entire time. I'll try not to. I'm wearing my Slam Dunk shirt today. I'm getting ready. I'm doing fake Slam Dunk today and then real Slam Dunk next week. So that'll work. But I think that's pretty much everything I have for you. I have been dipping in and out of a couple of other things. I read the first Captain Underpants book with Ezra and we really, really enjoyed that. So we're going to carry on with those as well. There's a lot more words than I thought. When I read them when I was younger, I thought I could remember being like pretty much just comics. But they are very much like stories with pictures. So that was a pleasant surprise. I haven't rated that yet, but I will have to think of a rating for it. Probably like a 4-star, because I didn't have any problems with it. It's just not the kind of thing that I would give a 5-star, but Ezra would probably give it 1700 million, 100 million, million, 100, because he likes very, very big numbers. I think that's it for today. So I am Alyce, this is the Bumbling Blogger, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Book Chat. As I said, if there's anything else you'd like me to feature, then please do leave it down in the comments. If you'd like to subscribe, then please do, and if you'd like to give it a like, we'd be super duper grateful. We will see you next week with another episode, and hopefully in a couple of days with a different video, but we'll wait and see, because we got a lot going on this week. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.